Hello, my name is Donna James, Senior Consultant with the Cerner Corporation, and I would like to take a few moments to demonstrate to you the specimen collection workflow utilizing the Bridge medical application. But before we demonstrate the Bridge application, what I would like to do first is do an overview of the workflow process. For specimen collection, the workflow usually begins with a physician entering an order or a series of orders for labs. The nurse or the phlebotomist enters the patient's room, signs into Bridge, scan the patient's wristband to pull the patient's chart up in Bridge. He or she will select the labs that need to be collected and click Print to print the labels. After they have drawn the specimens, the labels are placed on the specimens and the barcodes are scanned, and there is a confirmation that occurs. Once that confirmation is completed, the status of the order is sent back to the ordering system to update the order status from ordered to collected. So now that we have done a review of the workflow, let's go into the application. I am going to sign into Bridge as a nurse. This is what we call the patient identification screen. We have a field here for patient identification scanning of the patient's wristband. We also have two tabs that the nurse will focus on, the Points of Care tab and the My Patients tab. Here in the Points of Care tab, you can drill down by the point of care, which is also the nursing unit. You can also filter by draw type of nurse collect only or lab collect or all. I'm going to select it for this demonstration, all. And you can either filter further down by priority display. Here we have routine, stat, and timed. I've already have it set to 4,900. It shows all the patients within that location along with the groupings of times that labs are due. To see more specifics about the lab, you can click on the hyperlink here. It will take you to a line item for each lab that needs to be drawn along with the times that they are due. I can click my back hyperlink. It will take me back to my Points of Care tab. I also have a My Patients tab. This tab is utilized when you want to create your own patient work list. Oftentimes, nurses are given a work list of patients that they are assigned to. What that nurse would do is click on the X in the Points of Care tab. They can click on the X. They will become check marks. And then when you click on the My Patients tab, those patients will flow over into the My Patients tab. If a patient happens to be transferred out or reassigned and you want to change your My Patient list, you can click on the check mark and click the My Patients tab, which will refresh the screen, and that patient will be removed off of your My Patients tab. So now we're going to start the process where we're going to begin to scan the patient's wristband. The patient pulls into Bridge. We have our specimens buttons here. This is where the nurse or the phlebotomist will work from when it comes to specimen collection. You will click Collect Specimens. You will then select the specimens that you're going to draw. You'll notice when I click the checkbox, a Cite and Source drop-down will appear. If there is an asterisk in front of that drop-down box, that is an indicator that that is a required field. If there's not an asterisk in front of that box, it does not have to be addressed. For the sake of this demonstration, I will address the Cite and Source box for both of them. Once you have selected your labs, and I'm going to select a couple of more. Once you have selected your labs, you can click Print. This would print out your labels. You are taken to the Print Label screen. In the future, you will be using handhelds. If you're using handhelds, you will have a barcode on your handheld where you can scan the barcode. It will create an association between your computer and your printer and begin printing out your labels. But for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to select USB. There is a detection process that occurs to create the relationship and the connection between the printer and the computer. Once that connection has been established, you're going to click Print. All the labels have printed for these 4 labs, and on those labs you're going to see barcodes, and what you will do, the nurse or the phlebotomist will do, is scan the barcodes on the labels. As you scan each barcode, you will see a check mark appear next to that particular lab that's collected. So I have 2 check marks here. That means I have collected the labs, but my confirm button is not undithered so that I can confirm. That is because I have 2 other labs that need to be collected. If the nurse or the phlebotomist attempts to manually collect and click on the checkbox, they will be given an error that says that scanning is recommended. Do you want to continue without scanning? If he or she selects yes, they will have to give a reason why they did not scan. For this, we're just going to select default. The checkbox will now appear. And if there is a chance that you've collected your blood, but you haven't collected enough blood, so you're not able to do your last lab, you can select that lab as uncollected by clicking on the X. You will then have to provide an uncollect reason and click OK. That lab will drop off of your Collect Specimen screen. You can now click Confirm to confirm the labs that have been collected. Again, based on the workflow, that message will be sent back to the computer system, and the order is then updated to a collected status. So what happens to the lab that you uncollected? When you click on your specimen orders, you will notice that this line item is blue. It's highlighted blue because this is a color indication that the lab has not been collected. Along with that blue highlight color, you will be provided an uncollected reason right here in this lower corner. Part of the design by the hospital facility is to identify what those uncollected reasons should be. So that lab will still be available to be collected at a later time. If you want to review the labs that have already been collected, you will click on your Browse Specimen History, and you can see the date and time that it was confirmed or canceled. You can also see information about the label printed, when it was requested, container, test, site and source, and any initials for the individual who collected the lab. When you click your back hyperlink, it takes you back to your home screen. You can then collect additional labs as needed. Now, if this was a phlebotomist signing in, they would have access to these 2 tabs here, the Work Groups tab and the Collection List tab. The Work Groups tab allows the phlebotomist to add a point of care or a nursing unit. Here I'm going to select the 4900. Those patients will flow into the Work Groups tab. It looks quite similar to your Points of Care tab. He or she will also have the ability within that tab to click on the hyperlink to see the specifics of what labs are due. It also provides the type of container that's needed for that particular lab. But I know oftentimes that can seem very confusing to look at all of the different times, but with the collection list, you have the ability to have it list out the times in the labs individually. So here I have all of Aaron patients' labs out individually and the collection times that they're due. Now, oftentimes, as a phlebotomist, you want to know all the patients on a particular unit, what labs they have at the 9 o'clock. You will have the ability to filter by times, which will group all of your 9 o'clocks together. So you would be able to see all the patients that have 9 o'clock labs that are due. If you want to filter by room and bed, you can also filter by room and bed. And you can also filter by priority. Now, if there is a lab that's not collected and you see that it's highlighted in purple, it is a stat lab that has not been collected. This is a decision that's usually made by the client team to decide the colors, to identify uncollected stat labs and uncollected non-stat labs. The phlebotomist will follow the same steps as the nurse did when collecting the labs. He or she will scan the patient's wristband. They can have the patient provide them their name and their date of birth as a confirmation as they're looking at their information on the banner bar. They can select the collect specimens. And for this one, let's say we need to do a blood culture. You can select blood culture, address the required field drop-down site source, scroll down to the bottom to select print, and then select print. Once you have established a collection between your printer and your laptop, you don't have to do that process again. You notice that when I clicked print this time before, it automatically allowed me to collect print. It didn't have to detect my printer. But you can have it built and set up where every time you go to a new patient, the system can prompt you to select the printer, just in case there are different printers in different rooms. Scan the product, the specimen label. Your checkbox appears here. You can click confirm. And then if you need to review your specimen history, you can review your specimen history from this point. So this concludes the specimen collection workflow utilizing the Bridge Medical application.